For decades, one number ran the retirement planning conversation: 4%. Withdraw 4% of your portfolio every year and your money will last 30 years. Simple, clean, easy to remember. Financial advisors repeated it. Personal finance articles built entire frameworks around it. Retirement calculators defaulted to it. There's just one problem. It was designed for a world that no longer exists. And the retirees who are finding this out the hard way are finding it out too late to do much about it. The 4% rule came from research published in 1994. A financial planner named William Bengen ran historical simulations using stock and bond returns from the previous several decades and concluded that a 4% annual withdrawal had never depleted a portfolio over a 30-year retirement window. That was genuinely useful research at the time. But 1994 was a different world. Bond yields were higher, market valuations were lower. A 30-year retirement was the exception, not the expectation, and nobody was modeling what happens when someone retires at 55 and needs their money to last 40 years. The rule wasn't wrong, it was just built for a specific set of conditions that have shifted significantly since. Here's what's changed. Bond yields spent most of the last 15 years near zero. The 60-40 portfolio, 60% stocks, 40% bonds, that the 4% rule assumed is no longer the reliable ballast it once was. When both stocks and bonds declined simultaneously in 2022, retirees relying on that classic allocation got a reminder that diversification doesn't always protect you the way the textbook says it will. Life expectancy has increased. A couple retiring today at 65 has a meaningful probability that one of them lives into their 90s. That's a 30-year retirement minimum, possibly 35. The original research wasn't modeling that. Healthcare costs have escalated faster than general inflation. The expense side of retirement has shifted in ways the original simulations couldn't account for. Put it all together, and several updated studies now suggest the safe withdrawal rate in current conditions is closer to 3 to 3.5%, not 4. That's a meaningful difference. On a $1 million portfolio, the gap between 4% and 3% is $10,000 a year, every year, for the rest of your retirement. So what are people actually using instead? The first alternative is dynamic withdrawal strategies. Instead of taking a fixed percentage every year, you adjust based on how the market performed. Good year in the market, you can withdraw a little more. Bad year, you pull back. The adjustment doesn't have to be dramatic. Even small changes in response to market conditions significantly extend portfolio longevity compared to a rigid fixed withdrawal. The most commonly cited version of this is the Guardrails approach. You set an upper and lower limit on your withdrawal rate. If your withdrawals drift above the upper guardrail, usually around 5 to 5.5%, you cut spending. If they drop below the lower guardrail, usually around 3 to 3.5% because the portfolio has grown, you can spend a little more. The portfolio stays in a safe zone without requiring dramatic lifestyle changes. By the way, if nobody's told you this stuff before, that's kind of the point of this channel. Hit subscribe if you want to keep getting it. New video every single day. Now, back to what we were saying. The second alternative is building a floor with guaranteed income. This is where Social Security strategy, pensions, and annuities come back into the picture. If you can cover your essential expenses, housing, food, healthcare, utilities, with guaranteed income that doesn't depend on the market, your investment portfolio only has to fund the discretionary stuff: travel, gifts, extras. That changes everything about how aggressively you need to manage withdrawal rates. A portfolio that only has to supplement a strong income floor can afford to be more aggressive in good years and more patient in bad ones. The retirees who sleep well at night tend to have this structure. Guaranteed income covers the baseline. Investments cover the life they actually want to live. The third alternative is a bucket strategy. You divide your retirement savings into 3 buckets: short-term, 1 to 2 years of expenses and cash or stable assets; medium-term, 3 to 10 years of moderate growth investments like bonds and dividend stocks; long-term, everything else in growth-oriented investments. When the market drops, you live off the short-term bucket. You don't touch the long-term bucket. It recovers. You refill the short-term bucket when markets normalize. It's not fundamentally different from having a cash buffer, which we've covered before, but the bucket structure makes it psychologically easier to manage. You can see clearly where each year's spending is coming from. The market can do whatever it wants with the long-term bucket, and it doesn't affect next month's rent. Here's the honest version of where this leaves you. The 4% rule isn't useless. As a starting point for rough retirement math, it still works reasonably well. If you're years away from retirement and just trying to estimate a target, multiplying your annual spending gap by 25 gives you a workable ballpark. But as an actual withdrawal strategy in retirement, a rigid number you apply every year regardless of what the market does, what your healthcare costs, or how long you've already been retired, it was never quite right, and in current conditions, it's less right than it used to be. The retirees who are navigating this well aren't following a single rule. They're managing a system. Guaranteed income on the bottom, a dynamic portfolio in the middle, a cash buffer on top, withdrawal rates that flex with reality rather than staying fixed regardless of it. That's more complicated than one number. It's also more likely to work. All right, that's all for now. We'll see you next time.